to make this video for a very long time. So, hello everyone here. In this video, it's about leverless controller. My first leverless controller. So I never played with the leverless before, and I love, interactive stuff. I work with, game development, building stuff, technology, right? I invent stuff, so on. So I'm really into like different controller setup. So I really want to do it for a long time, honestly. But first of all, I wanted to also get to master rank with one character in Street Fighter before, so I could feel like I know what I'm talking about, right? So of course, I got up there with M.bison. So I know people say, oh, you play M.bison, he's too easy, or whatever, right? But there is a couple of reasons why I played M.bison, to play this video here, guys. Because there are two main factors then, and those are charge and a new character. The video won't be about M.bison per se. I'll make another video about explaining how I reason how to play M.bison later. But to some extent, of course, because M.bison's character I play the most, I will refer to him sometimes and explain some stuff with the advantage of, leverless versus lever, right? So in this video here then, I'm explaining to you, is it worth it, right? Buying a leverless controller, the cost-wise. Obviously, I have a Kitzune Razer here in my hands then. So end of the video, I'm going to talk about particularly like the Kitzune Razer, the cost of that, the price of that, right? There are some other leverless, but I only have experience with this one mostly. I have tested some other ones at low cost, but this is the one I have experience with. I made of course, the design myself, right? Made the actual art of it myself. And I will say here immediately that you can buy the one with Kami on or with Chun-Li on, because I have Kami over here anyway. I would say it's much easier. You just make your own. I made it myself, right? It costs like $20 doing that. So that's probably a way better deal, honestly. If you're gonna buy this one, so immediately buy the blank Razer one and then make your own skin for it. Way cheaper. But anyway, let's go into some of the reasons playing leverless. So is it now better or worse playing with leverless? Everyone's question is always right, is it better? Is it worth buying or not, right? And I would say that playing in M.bison, I think it's definitely worth it. Playing other character that isn't charged, coming to soon here, is less worth it probably. I still think it's generally, I feel I play probably generally better now, regardless of it, but especially with charged characters. But first of all then, number one then, when you're playing with leverless, I do find it easier to do dashing, right? Like in the back and forth. So for example, right, if you do this thing here, you can do a run parry dash, which is called. Combo this list, right? In 76 then. This to me feels much easier to do with double D. You can also parry it with the parry buttons like that, right? But I find it much easier to do like a dash back and forth like that. So that's one thing I think easily is better on the leverless, right? Because otherwise you have to draw the stick back and forth. So this kind of thing, when you can do like shimmering back and forth, kind of like dashing in and going out again and so on. Yeah, this thing out. That's just easier, absolutely on leverless, 100%. Now the Razer here particularly has a bigger button for up, which is a down button down here, and that I feel also makes it easier for the thumb and so on. So that's great. And just generally speaking, I do actually find it the way the layout is, it's an Kitzune Razer, I find it easier to do driving packs. So I think I have it easier now to do like reverse drive packs against them. But whatever, that's number one. Generally, it feels like the better. Number two, though, okay, very important here, and this is also actually the main thing take away from this video, is why should you play leverless versus the normal lever, right? Charge character, okay. So the reason I want to play M.bison, right, was because he's a charge character. My idea before I even had played with leverless, right, like my general I want to better not, was charge, of course, because now when you're playing with this thing here, right, you can now revert it. So you can play this thing, right, like that, right. You can press the down button and do this thing. So you can do this thing, right. It is so much easier to do like a double tap thing, or release and so on, right. So when you're playing a charge character, it is so much incredibly easier on the leverless. It's so much easier doing this ability when the M.bison is jumping, right? It's so much easier doing this thing. Incredibly much easier. It is much easier to do that. It is easier generally doing the back and forth thing, and so on, right? It is so much easier. It's just so much better. I don't know what to say really, but like it's kind of obvious, right? But really so, like doing this ability, jumping up, doing the back and forth thing, all of this stuff, when you're playing on the leverless, it feels incredibly much easier. And I think that's is massively easier, right? Because you're constantly now going backward, press the forward right, so you press that thing, and you release it, and you fly. Like that, right? So you fly. Or sit down, of course, you can hold down this thing, and you fly. It is, or of course then, you press the big up and up there. That, yeah, it's playing leverless is so much better for charged characters. So I think that after like mastering M.bison then, getting him to master rank, just playing like Guile, you know, a Honda, Blanca, whatever, right? They all feel so much better on leverless. So I think that's like again my biggest takeaway is that when you're playing on leverless, it is a massive improvement. Honestly, I think for charged character, not so much for like whatever, you know, the Ryukan, right, the Sagato, whatever. No, but like the clones or like the little bit Chun-Li. Chun-Li is half charged now, so maybe a little bit like Jamie, those kind of unique style, Ed and so on. There I don't see like a super advantage over it. But again, then when you're playing a charged character like M.bison, Blanca and so on, it feels super much better playing on leverless. Like I said, biggest takeaway. Now, my next takeaway, and this is also for my friend, my dear friend of mine, my best friend. He has issues when he plays on the stick. So when he's playing an arcade stick, right, he gets what's called, you know, like a tennis elbow. He moves his arm too much. Like he does this thing, not too much, of course, more like this, right? But still, so he gets a tennis elbow. So what I would say, otherwise, not playing charged characters, the generally best thing with the Kitzune Razer or generally leverless is that my hands are never moving. So when I play this thing, right, my hands are used still like this. I'm never moving my elbows. It feels much more rested. I feel I can play for a longest period of time without getting exhausted, without getting hurt in my hand or whatever. So for my friend then, right, that has, like I said, like a really severe elbow pain when he plays, he basically can't play Street Fighter. He had to stop playing the 5th game for a long time, on and off. He went to the doctor, so like I had actual issues with this, right? So that's otherwise the best thing with leverless. I think it strains your body way less. Again, because you're never really moving your hand, moving your fingers, right? You're never moving your hand like that, and it's just so it's much better. So for him, he has to play on a leverless basically. Right? He can't play on like a stick basically anymore, which is very unfortunate, right? But I would recommend it in that sense. Now some people are stressing out with the pinky finger thing. You have to have the power for that, but that is the same thing on the normal console anyway. That's no issue for me, but it wouldn't have the same thing otherwise. People are stressing out having your parry button over your pinky. No problem for me. You should train finger more. But I don't get people saying, I have some people saying that's a bad thing with leverless, but for me it's like, wouldn't you use your pinky for your normal lever stick also? So I don't see the difference with it. But anyway, the elbow thing, the otherwise is much better, yeah, because I definitely feel less tension. I feel that I can play for a longer period of time. I feel less tired in my fingers and my hands or whatever if I sit down on like and play, you know, like a Saturday, a Sunday, go up early in the morning and play for like 4 or 5 hours. You know what I mean? Like just play for a long period of time without any break. It feels much easier on the leverless. So I don't think that probably is the biggest takeaway. But I think it's like more of the charge thing is that how they really fit much better. And the next thing is like, okay, that actually is like a health thing that is much better though. Now, I think I struggle with though. I don't actually feel it's super easy doing quarter circle on leverless. I actually fail it sometimes, which kind of annoys me, honestly. I don't know why that's happening, but honestly, I feel it's a little bit where I miss a stick. One move, which I think is easier to stick one, is this Sita move thing that it doesn't have anymore in particular 76, but you have it in like Street Fighter 4 and some other fighting games, right? Where you had like weirder, you press like back, forward, back, down. It's like this like back, down, slash down, up kind of thing. That thing I think is easier on the stick. So you basically you draw like a C thing with the stick, right? I don't think that's easier actually on this one because it's not that much harder, but it gets become like this kind of like it's yeah, like that would be like that. So that doesn't feel that much easier. There's some more movements like that. I think it is kind of charged because yeah, I don't find it easy to play like Akuma or something on this one in particular. And I do think that the stick is kind of easier when you do a DP, right? And so on. If you do your DP stuff, now doesn't have to DP, so they change character, yeah. But like that to me doesn't feel easier on the lever that much. And there's some other things, of course, with OCD things. You can have different scripts for it. I definitely would recommend having the last priority one, but that's usually against the rules. But anyway, so you play this thing right. I think it's easier doing this kind of input. No, it's super sad, but I think it's easier, honestly, doing this kind of things on normal lever and not lever still, right? If you're doing your like deeper stuff, just if I do punch, you know, like that, bam, bam, bam. I can still do it, of course, but I find it easier. I don't know why, but it's kind of like the same thing. You kind of get used to it by holding it downwards, I guess, to do your. I feel I have to do this thing more when like pressing forward rather. Like I think the struggle is probably from this thing. If I'm going from like down, right, and now when I do a DP, I would have to like release first and then do that thing. Yeah, that thing it's more accurate, which people like with lever, and that's true. You have to first release it and then go forward. But with lever, I feel I'm usually used with lever in this position. I think I'll just do that thing, and that actually would fail then, or you know, I would get my first DP there. So that's a little bit weird, and I think it takes a little more. Like sometimes you have to kind of go into, you know, neutral. Like I said, you know what I mean? That to me is a little bit harder, I feel, for playing with the leverless. I think with the lever sometimes I think it's easier to also get to neutral in a weird way, because this might be a mental thing, but I suppose because like being neutral now means it's not doing anything, right? Like not touching anything. Now you're neutral. But with lever it's kind of like you're holding your hand in the middle, but your hand is actively waiting to pull, so you're kind of holding it. So that just kind of feels more natural doing this thing. So now it's kind of like releasing something, and I guess so it might just be a get good tip, because my hands are always I always want to do something. You know what I mean? I always want to do something. Yeah, I kind of have a hard time just doing this thing. This is why it's play short, I guess. Okay, sit down and hold in the corner. But yeah, it does feel a little bit. I feel a little bit harder here. I want to go up that. Something like that. So it might be a mental thing for me, but I think that's an issue though, where I feel a little bit weaker. So now when it comes to doing like longer combos, right? So say you wanna do this thing, you know, you wanna combine it with something else, right? You wanna like run, do punch, whatever, right? Or you wanna run, punch, throw. This is my favorite usually, honestly. Yeah, I always like that. For the beginning of Civ 6, running and then throwing usually does the most damage. Unless you have a secure combo, but still, something like that, yeah, you can do it. But is that easier or not easier on the stick or lever? I do again feel it's a little bit depending on the character you're playing as, right? But like I said, I actually think it's easier. Like I said earlier, because of how easy it is to run with this one, I do find it actually quite easier on the leverless. In particular, then when you want to do this burn thing, right? When you want to like this thing, because again, I think it's easier to do the double tap, right? And and personally, I'm a double tapper. Leave a comment below. Are you a double tapper or are you a parry guy? So you can do this thing as well, right? Like run like that. But I always been a guy that double tap instead. And I know that, correct if I'm wrong, but when the game was released, you have to do this thing, right? And then they did you can do either way. I much rather prefer this way. I don't remember what the original one, but yeah, I much rather prefer doing that. So I think it's easier to do combos because of that reason, right? Because I can do this thing or whatever. You know, I find it much easier to do kind of bam, ram, run again. Sometimes that works. Can you run twice there? No? Okay, there we go. So like for example, damn, run again, you know, and then you do super something, you know, it's a terrible combo though. Yeah, with terror is interesting, but terror you can burn this thing instead. With terror you can burn it like this instead, not better. But there we go, like that, you know, something like that, right? Basic combo. But I'm not a terror player, obviously. I'm not a terror player, but you get my point. If you wanna do some burn combos, yeah, I find this easier on the leverless actually, like that, yeah. Much easier. Now lastly, before we get the cost to it, I want to talk about like comfortability, something like that, okay? So what I mean is that what I prefer to play, and I think especially for me then, again with the M.bison, playing a charge character, right? And it does feel easier playing the charge again on leverless, right? Because it does feel for my hand, my finger, that I mentioned earlier with the elbow thing, it does feel easier to hold down. So currently right now, you can see the tap, right? I'm holding down, you know, this thing, right? You know, diagonal back, right? 99. And this feels easier, yeah. This feels more comfortable doing this thing and doing back into it again. It does feel less straining. Certainly. Now, another thing I want to mention, and this is going back to, I know people say, oh, you're playing M.bison and so on, right? But like I said earlier, the big reason was because I want to play charged, right? Because I imagine that charge would be better, which I think is accurate. Charge is better on Leverless. I think that's like, again, the go-to from this video. But another reason why I play M.bison, because M.bison was the new character released, right? So a big reason why I played up M.bison was the combination of that in charge, but also then yeah, he's a new character, so my body, my hand, my input, I don't have like some kind of pre-memory in my brain here. So I also it's like a big recommendation if you start playing Leverless, play with a new character actually. So trying to play a character, for example, I played Rashid a bit, for example, before buying the Leverless. That would be much harder because I'm used to do this thing, do that thing, but then have a new thing in my hand, right? So I think it was much easier. Also, like, learning how to play the Leverless, pretty new character, definitely. I also played Terry later then, and got into like Diamond 4, started Diamond 4 team, after M.bison. So that also felt like, yeah, they felt much easier because, again, no experience playing Terry, right, in a core Street Fighter setting, no like brain lag, so to speak, in the wrong issue, right, and just getting into it, learning how to play him, felt again that much easier, right, than if I try to play a character that I have experience with before the Leverless, for example Ed or Rashid or Kami or whatever. That's not like much more complicated. It's gonna be like weird. So the generation. Now last, talk about the cost then. So we have the actual cost then, right? And like I said, talking about the Kitzune Razer. First of all, I made the skin myself, right? It looks like this. It's a Kami there, it's a Tifa, it's a Poison. You reach of course in the middle there. I like how it looks. I made the background myself, and obviously Kane and A2. This is what you call a proper fighting game stick, right? Now cost wise, I think it's a pretty good price for it. I bought it on Amazon Prime. Got it delivered the same day, $330 roughly speaking, with currency take on that. And then to make the own custom skin, then about $20, right? So like I mentioned earlier in the video, you don't wanna. I don't think you don't want to buy like the Kitzune Razer, Kami or Chun-Li with a pre-skin on it, because that is cost more money. You can make your own skin that looks better, much cheaper. I printed that myself because I made the art myself and so on, right? But still, much cheaper than those like extra price on that. So also altogether then, roughly then $350 to get this thing here, okay? The actual stick, with also the custom skin then. Now, is it worth it or not? Is it worth it? I don't have too much experience with the cheaper products, the cheaper versions of the Leverless. But I think one thing immediately that's great here with this Kitzune Razer is that it has native support, right, for PS5, which means that, for example, I went to a local tournament last month, which I won, but whatever. I went there, and people were very bad, very easy, but not bad way. I went there, right, and they're playing on PS5, right, which is pretty common actually, I think. Yeah, for some reason, usually on PS5 tournaments, I play on PC then at home, right? But, so, you want to have that. My arcade stick, my older one, the Lever one then, also has a switch. I can switch between Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. And this one has stick then, you can switch between PC and PlayStation. And yeah, it's very good having that. It's very useful going to your friend's place, right? Going to a place. You can buy like an adapter in between. The adapter will cost you like $70 places, maybe $50, maybe $30 if you're lucky, but you still need to pay up that, right? So having like, okay, $330, but you have a native PS5 thing, that is worth at least $50, like straight up that. And it's so much easier because you have it inside the actual controller, don't have some extra thing in between to connect it and so on, or some other stuff to have to solve with it. So that is worth some money, absolutely. So more stuff I like with it is that it has turn off the pause buttons on it, so on, right, it's great. It has a good underneath like skin on it, so it so it doesn't move right, and so on, so that. But overall, the size is super light, easy to take with you. So that's also something great if you take it with to friends and tournaments and so on. Yeah, it's super lightweight. That being said, though, in my experience, then having tested some of my friends' Leverlesses, hitboxes, and so on, all the other versions of it, they're all much lighter and easier to carry, right, than the old school arcade sticks, which are like 10 kilograms. Yeah, they're super heavy. I think mine is like 8 or 9 kilograms, the other one I have. This one is like 1 or 2 or something. So they're much easier to carry with you, and they're slimmer and everything in that stuff. That's much better, certainly. Easy to bring with you and so on. Absolutely. But I think in the price range, right? I mean, that's kind of what you around $300, kind of what you expect as new levers to cost as well now these days. This is where I live. Sure, you have the cheaper versions, but like I think it's that, in my opinion, it's like it's kind of like buying shoes for me. Okay, so I don't like to spend too much money on clothing, right? I think it's too waste of money. I make my own clothing, of course, then I spend money. But on all the clothing, I was like, right? I don't want to spend money on that. But I think it's nice to buy expensive shoes. I don't mean shoes as in that I go shoe shopping every day. I mean like I go shoe shopping once a year, right? But I buy like really expensive shoes because I'm gonna wear those shoes, every day until next year I buy new ones. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same thing with arcade stick. I think you shouldn't overpay stuff, but I don't think you should go around and either get the cheapest like $30 knockoff version either, because if you really like your fighting games, you're gonna play with this controller a lot, right? I think it's an easier investment buying like a better feeling stick, and the Razer Kitsune feels really great. The buttons are bigger than normals are. Like I mentioned, I feel it's much easier doing driving paint on it than it's on my other stick for some reason. So it feels more responsive and so on. But I think it also is because of the button size, right? I think the Kitsune button here is slightly bigger than the button you have on a normal stick, right? And hold it for size of the new Sama and so on. And then you have a much bigger button there and so on. So it's easier doing driving paint in the Paris, and that to me probably just makes you play slightly better. Or it is easier to play with it, and it feels more comfortable. Again, the less straining on your body and so on. But actually, I think it's easier to play because the button is bigger. So I think it has a good layout on it and so on. But it definitely is one of the more expensive, of course, leverless controllers you can find then. Because I know there are some other ones that are far cheaper. But also one thing I mentioned though, where I live, you can't buy those anywhere. Where I live, you have to order them from another country, and they don't exist here, and you can't buy them in stores. So you will have to, order them wait for a few months or whatever. So it's kind of complicated in that sense, right? This one, definitely the advantage for me is I could buy it and get it the same day on Amazon. That was super cheap. In that sense, felt very cheap because I bought it in the beginning of my vacation. Wanted to finally have some free time in our vacation, and I said, I finally kind of want to try to play that leverless stuff, right? I kind of want to get into that leverless stuff, and then I started playing the M.bison. I just dropped during my vacations when I bought it, right? So I played M.bison for a few years of my vacation. That's not the video though. Next video, guys, I'm going to talk about how to play M.bison, talk about some of my strategies and how I approach the M.bison play style. I play a very defensive M.bison, so it's kind of different, I think, than all people playing it. But very 50-50. A lot of flying. I think I fly probably way more than the average M.bison. I don't use kick that much. As it's kick, I mostly used to use devil reverse all the time. And I use trip all the time with it. But honestly, I think one thing to say here is that I didn't struggle at all getting to Master League. So I'm much better than Diamond 5. No, but seriously, like when I got Diamond 5, and that was last Saturday, then I played myself up to like almost Master League in the same day. Like Saturday morning to Saturday evening, I was up to like 90% something of the meter. I didn't play the whole day, but I mean like just during the hours I played. So I basically just grinded my way up there, like 6-1, 5-1, 8-1, 10-1, like 10 streak, then 1 lose at the best. So even at Diamond 5, I was still winning like 4 or 5 usually. But sometimes certainly you fall into a little bit of our route and you lose 2-3 games, but mostly I was winning a lot, so I was never like stuck with the Bison. I started in Diamond and I just play my Diamond 3, and I played my up to Master League in like 3-4 days basically, sitting down and actually playing it. So I was like Diamond 4 for like a week when Terry dropped. I didn't play Terry instead, for example, for a week then, but it's trying it out on. But overall, it's been a fun experience, and that's probably my last word here on the leverless, is that it's also just fun playing with it, right? I think so. This is like a new, interactive experience to have. So, for example, I like playing Street Fighter or fighting games, but I don't like to play the grind, right, on rank or whatever. I think it's kind of boring. Doesn't mean that I play the game a lot, but I don't whatever, getting their points or whatever, you know what I mean? But having the new arcade stick then, or leverless stick then, instead, made me play the game a lot more too. So That's just also just a plus. Well, it's a weird plus, but it's a plus, right? That buying this stuff just made me enjoy the game more in a meta way, right? Because I'm playing with a new controller, so suddenly I'm playing the game, let's say, 3 hours every day instead of 1 hour every day, kind of thing. Like I'm playing the game a lot more because I'm enjoying testing this new controller out. So that's also one thing. If you're stuck in the game, if you're stuck in, like, say, Platinum and you're kind of bored of the game and you're struggling with the game or whatever, buying this stuff, not necessarily the Kitsune Razer then, but I mean, just buying a Leverless might help you play the game better in the long run, because you might feel that, oh, you know what, I'm gonna play some more now because it's fun to play this thing. At least I felt that, because I felt that I actually wanted to sit down and just grind myself up with M.bison, right, to master. Also, so I could make the video, course, because I didn't want to make the video if I didn't have a master character with Leverless as well, of course. But still, I was like, okay, I want to actually play more now as well, because I do enjoy it more now. Yeah, maybe I do enjoy it more. Maybe, like, and to be fair, maybe I won't enjoy it more in like a year from now. You know what I mean? But at the current state, when this still feels fresh to me, this is kind of fun. The fingers are different, so on. Yeah, it felt extra fun to play it. So it also just made the whole thing more enjoyable, the experience of playing Street Fighter. But also other games, so I tried to play other games with the course, like Guilty Gear and so on, yeah. So it just felt more fun to play other fighter games, right, with a new controller. So that also just kind of amplified the entertainment value of the other games in particular. Again, also why I rather buy an expensive Leverless or whatever stick, right, because I'm gonna play it in different. I don't only play, I play Guilty Gear, I play Grand Blue, I play other fighting too, right. So I also want to generally have a better experience with it. But anyway, be subscribe, like button. Next video then is going to be how to play M.bison, right? Or / my experience of how to get Master League with M.bison.